Article 32. Indigenous people had a right to determine and develop priorities and strategies for the development or use their lands or territories and other resources. 2. States shall consult and cooperate in good faith with the indigenous people concerned through their own representative institutions in order to obtain their free and informed consent prior to approval of any project affecting their lands and territories and other resources, particularly in the connection with the development, utilization, or exploitations of minerals, waters, and other resources. 3. States shall provide effective mechanisms for just and fair redress for any such activities, and appropriate measures shall be taken to mitigate adverse environmental, economic, social, cultural, and spiritual impact. Article 33. 1. Indigenous people had a right to determine their own identity or membership in accordance with their customs and traditions. This does not impair the right of indigenous individuals to obtain citizenship of the states in which they live. 2. Indigenous people had a right to determine the structures and to select the membership of the institutions in accordance with their own procedures. Article 34. Indigenous people had a right to promote, develop, and maintain their institutional structures and their distinctive customs, spirituality, traditions, procedures, practices, and, in the case where they exist, juridical systems of customs in accordance with international human rights standards. Article 35. Indigenous people had a right to determine their responsibilities of individuals to their communities. Article 36. Indigenous people have, indigenous people in particular, those divided by international borders, had a right to maintain and develop contacts, relations, and cooperations, including activities for spiritual, cultural, and political, economics, and social purposes with their own members as well as other people across borders. 2. States in consultation and cooperation with indigenous people shall take effective measures to facilitate and exercise and ensure the implementation of this right. Article 37. 1. Indigenous people had a right to the recognition, observance, and enforcement of treaties, agreements, and other constructive arrangements concluded with the states or their successors, and to have states honor and respect such treaties, agreements, and other constructive arrangements. 2. Nothing in this declaration may be interpreted as diminishing or eliminating the rights of indigenous people contained in treaties, agreements, and other constructive agreements. Article 38. States, in consultation and cooperation with indigenous people, shall take the appropriate measures, including legislative measures, to achieve the ends of this declaration. Article 39. Indigenous people had a right to have access to financial and technical assistance from the states and through international cooperation for the enjoyment of the rights contained in this declaration. Article 40. Indigenous people had a right to access to the prompt decision through just and fair procedures for the resolution of conflicts and disputes with states or other parties, as well as to effective remedies for all infringements of their individual and collective rights. Such a decision shall give due consideration to the customs, traditions, rules, and legal systems of the indigenous people concerned, and international human rights. Article 41. The organs and specialized agencies of the United Nations system and other intergovernmental organizations shall contribute to the full realizations of the provisions of this declaration through the mobilization inter alia of financial cooperation and technical assistance. Ways and means of ensuring participation of indigenous people on issues affecting them shall be established. Article 42. The United Nations, its bodies, including the Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues and specialized agencies, including at the country level, and states shall promote respect for and full application of the provisions of this declaration and follow up the effectiveness of this declaration. Article 43. The rights recognized herein constitute the minimal standards for survival, dignity, and well being of the indigenous people of the world. Minimal standards. Listen to the verbiage. Uh, Article 44. All the rights and freedom recognized herein are equally guaranteed to male and female indigenous individuals. Article 45. Nothing in this declaration may be construed as diminishing or extinguishing the rights of indigenous people have now or may acquire in the future. Article 46. 1. Nothing in this declaration may be interpreted as implying for any state, people, group, or person any right to engage in any activity or to perform any act contrary to the Charter of the United Nations or construed as authorizing or encouraging any action which would dismember or impair totally or in part the territorial integrity or political unity of sovereign and independent states. Two, in the exercise of the right enunciated in the present declaration, human rights and fundamental freedoms of all shall be respected. The exercise of the rights set forth in this declaration shall be to, subject only to such limitations as the determined by law and in accordance with international human rights obligations. Any such limitation shall be non-discriminatory and strictly necessary solely for the purpose of securing due recognition and respect for the rights and freedoms of others and for meeting the just and most compelling requirements of a democratic, it should be a republic society. Three, the provisions set forth in this declaration shall be interpreted in accordance with the principles of justice, republic, respect for human rights, equality, non discrimination, good governance, and good faith. That's the end of it. So you can see clearly that, you know, your rights as an indigenous person should be more respected and and more easy to put certain so-called authorities in check than doing it as a quote unquote black, white, whatever color you call yourself person. You know, it's really all about status. So this uh, Tamma-Re LDIB, signing off on the Universal Declaration of Rights of Indigenous People. Can't protect your rights if you don't know your rights. Peace.